Hey everyone, Genome here, coming at you with my next review video. And today's video is going to be a little bit different because I'm not going to be reviewing a guitar or a food stuff or even a movie, but an actual game and like the newest addition to my home arcade, which I'll be doing some videos on here in the near future, and redesigning the man cave and all that stuff. But you didn't tune in for that, you tuned in for my review of the Legends pinball machine. So this is my first foray into digital pinball, and wow, what a start. So where to begin? This can be found at the ATGames site. Sometimes Sam's carries it, I hear, and usually it's a much deeper discount there. And a few other distributors, like I think Best Buy and Walmart, will sometimes carry them as well. If you do that, you tend to beat the shipping. For just about all of their larger products, there's a $100 shipping fee on top of the cost of the unit if you order directly from ATGames, which is what I did with this unit, because I was not seeing it at any of the aforementioned sites, and I wanted to have it now, so sometimes you pay the premium. A little tip though, before we get into reviewing that, is they sell something like the LPO, whatever the membership is for the year. It costs 150 bucks. Well, there really was not a reason not to get that, because you wind up getting, I think, 4 free game packs per year and pretty deep discounts on a lot of other stuff that I want to get for this, by the way. Plus, this unit and the Legends Ultimate, which is probably the best value in gaming that's currently available right now, which I'll be getting that eventually soon as well, get a big discount. Like on this one, I got a $120 discount off the list price, and the membership is $150. So if you buy 1 or 2 things, it pays for itself pretty quick, and then you get all those free game packs. So just a quick tip there. So this thing cost me probably, after the discounts, probably about $850 out the door, shipped to my door for this unit. And I'm going to tell you right now in this video whether I think it's a good deal. Now, I'll just go ahead and not keep you in suspense. I think this is an excellent deal, even at $800 with some caveats. And we'll go over the pros and cons of this unit, as we go on. So let's go ahead and get into some things that attracted me to this unit. One, it's incredibly modular. So basically you have the 3 different kinds of inputs up here, and I believe there might be a way to go through the board to do some more. You can upgrade the back box here with a bigger one. Speakers. There is a control panel I'll be getting here soon with a joystick and trackball and lots of buttons, because you can actually play like vertical games and other arcade games on this, not just pinball. So this is an incredibly versatile cabinet, probably the most versatile pinball machines you're going to be able to get, at least in the under a couple $1,000 price point. Another reason I was attracted to this unit in particular is because they have an extensive library of different games, especially on the pinball machine side. I think it's close to like 200 games at this point. So you're bound to find something that you like. And most of the games are pretty high quality. Come packaged with, I believe, was it 22 games of the Gottlieb tables with varying degrees of funness attached to them. That's a new word today, funness. But I mean, it did come with some games, so it's enough to keep you interested at least for a little while until you want to upgrade. And we'll talk about upgrades and things like that at a later time. So let's go into some other pros. Probably is the overall look of the machine is pretty sleek. It's about, I think some people say, between 80–90% of the size of a real pinball machine, and that seems pretty analogous, right? I mean, it does seem that way. I don't have this set at its full height. It is adjustable. There's adjustable feet down there on some very sturdy legs, I might add, because my wife is vertically challenged and I don't want to make it soar above what's comfortable for her. This is very comfortable for her now, but I got them about 3/4 of the way up on riser. I would normally just max it because it is a tiny bit low for my taste. I'm about 5'11", so not exceptionally tall or anything. So, but it is close, very close to the size of a real cabinet, and width-wise, it feels just about right. So there's that. I mean, if you want a visual representation of a pinball machine in your house, well, there you go. Another pro for this thing is Wi-Fi. I mean, this thing, it's constantly getting updates, firmware updates. Being able to connect remotely has a plethora of things, a plethora of different things that you can go through. I'm not going to go through all the little details of this thing, but there are tons of things that you can do with this. because of that functionality. So very versatile. This thing is just versatility incarnate, right? Just like the Legends Ultimate arcade cabinet, which I can't wait to get into a review on, by the way. This thing is right up there as far as versatility, but this thing is definitely streamlined towards a pinball experience, and in that I find it delivers pretty well. Comes with very serviceable sound. Maybe a little bit light on the bass, but you know, this is what you expect out of stock speakers. I'm sure you can attach a subwoofer at some point and, you know, give it some oomph if you want. You gotta be careful with tilt, and we'll talk about that a little bit too as one of the negatives, but there is that as well. So it comes with pretty decent sound. It comes with a digitized backsplash, and you can see when you change games, oops, you'll actually get the backsplash of that game even as a preview. So that's pretty cool. That's nice. And you know, the one of the gripes with it is it doesn't cover the whole thing, and there are remedies for that, but it is what it is. And we'll talk about some other cons here later, but let's stick with the positives. The games themselves are very interesting. Like they'll have a lot of classic arcade tables, or excuse me, pinball tables, and then they'll also have ones with a new twist. So not they're just digitizing the old tables, but they're, you know, creating them in 2019 with 2019 standards. So they'll take the same basic table. You'll see this in a lot of the, like the Zaccaria packs, the packs that you can buy on the side, right? And you'll see them, they'll have the original recreated for this digital pinball, and then they'll have like a 2018 or 19 remake with the same base table, but a whole slew of different things. So it's pretty cool, very versatile, and a nice reimagining of some classic games. Because we gotta admit, some of those older, you know, pinball games weren't all that great. You know, it was primitive times as far as gaming goes, and there wasn't really anything to do other than hit a few bumpers, you know, and the things were extraordinarily cheap, like as far as, you know, having huge expanse between the flippers and big pockets on the side to really suck your quarters or nickels back then down, right? So it's pretty cool that you have an updated experience for a lot of these classic tables. Another pro is this thing is built like a tank. I'd say that the parts are pretty close as far as quality, or maybe at least the casing and all that, of an official pinball table, other than maybe some of the fasteners being a little bit more easy because most people don't have tools, so they give us, you know, pretty basic stuff as far as mounting hardware and all that. But I mean, this thing is solid, it's heavy. Here's a quick warning: if you are not a really strong person, this is not something you move on your own.
He ain't lying.
You're gonna need to get some help because it comes in two pieces. It's shipped in with the back panel separate, and then this entire unit is already assembled is actually shipped in a box. Very heavy, probably over 100 pounds. So, and I had to get this down in my basement. That was really fun, but you can do it, you know. But if you are not a real strong person, you might make sure when you get this and you're ready to set up, you have someone there to help you.
Help you again? Yes.
Because even when you put the legs on this thing, you still have to turn it over on its side or on its back, right? So be mindful of it. It is a heavy unit, but that is a good thing because I think it's constructed well. It doesn't wobble excessively, probably no more. It's on carpet right now, so it really wouldn't wobble this much normally. This thing feels solid as a rock. Even the faceplate and all that feels really solid. The actual gaming hardware itself feels really good. The plunger, you can't see it right there, but I'll get some video of it. Plunger has a great feel to it. It's a nice addition as well for a little bit of nostalgia. All the buttons feel really good, except the D-pad. The D-pad sucks. I don't think it's a problem with the D-pad itself. It's not really big, and it's just, I don't know, it just is weird. But other than that, like all the buttons, the flippers feel good. Let's see here. Well, you won't be able to see. I'll show you some video of that as it plays. Everything here feels good. The legs, super sturdy, super solid. I don't see this thing ever having a problem unless you get the roughest of the rough, you know, people on there. Then are you really inviting those people over to your house to play your games? Dubious at best. So, and like I said before, it comes with a lot of games, 22 tables. Now, granted, not all of them are great, and there's definitely a difference in quality between the purchasable tables, like the Zaccaria tables. I haven't tried forays into the Haitos or anything like that. Eventually I will. But it comes with a decent amount of tables, right, which highlights a lot of different things that this thing is capable of. Monitor is huge. I think it's, what, 32-inch? And vertical monitor looks great. There is some uneven lighting sometimes, but I think that's just table recreation, because sometimes it doesn't seem too consistent in that regard. But looks great, and there's a nice little depth here because there's probably a good 1.5 inches between the glass, which is real glass, and the actual monitor itself. So it gives that illusion of depth pretty well. So that part's great. Very clear. You know, it's small, very clear on the back panel here, pictures of things. And another negative a lot of times though is all the pictures pretty good. Sometimes it's hard to read some of the scoring things, especially because it's so high. I'd almost rather that they put the speakers up here somewhere, or get rid of this Legends Pinball, I'll talk about that here in a little bit, and move the screen down if they're not going to make it bigger, because it's just harder to glance all the way up here to see this pertinent information, which is usually right in this area, right? So let's see if I can got a good example of that. Like right here when you have the digital readouts, right? So while it's not that high, it is up higher than it needs to be sometimes. So unless you're cradling the ball and have time to look up, sometimes you just cannot see what's going on up here. So that is a little bit of room for improvement, but you can also buy bigger back boxes for these things too. So we'll hold against it though. It's got a clear picture and it's a pretty good representation of these classic cabinets, right? Another pro to go with all the other aforementioned things is the fact that it's just, while it's almost the full size of a regular pinball machine, the profile itself is kind of slim, so it fits in rooms pretty easily, right? So it doesn't take up too much of your precious real estate. And really, I guess the last pro would have to be price. I mean, digital pinball, or pinball itself, is a very expensive hobby to get into, right? And there's tons of mechanical issues and being able to find parts and stuff for the real thing, not to mention size, that's an issue. And then price is just sky high for regular cabinets, right? Physical ones. So digital pinball really makes the most sense because you can get hundreds of pinball games onto one unit without it only taking up one area in your house. So if you can deal with the digital pinball aspect of it, which is actually pretty good, I really it doesn't bother me that much, as much as I thought it would. These things really are an exceptional value, and this price point, it is head and shoulders above one or two of the other competitors, and really above just about everybody else, because you can't get a value like this for under a couple grand, right? And this thing is about 850 bucks shipped to your door. I'm sure you can find it on sale. I've seen it, and people have commented this thing has been as cheap as like 400 bucks at Sam's, and that means you're beating on the shipping charge too. So like $400, half that price of this, which I think is already a decent value at 850 bucks. This thing is really amazing as far as value in gaming goes. These ATGames, like Legends machines, really seem to just knock it out of the park as far as value goes. So now if you want some comparison, I was actually looking at some of the Arcade 1-Up 3/4 scale, right? Basically they're micro size pinball machines, and those things new are running between 6 and, depending where you're buying at, 700 bucks. And you get 10 games at 720p. This runs at 1080p. And I think you can swap out one of the boards in there and make it 4K, but they do have a 4K cable coming up. Whatever the case may be, 1080p looks fine to me. It looks really good, but just the value is just insane. I mean, 10 tables on the Arcade 1-Ups, and I don't believe there's any functionality as far as connectivity, wireless or otherwise. So you're never going to have a leaderboard. You have tons of leaderboards on this thing. And just you're stuck with 10 games. And if you want more, you gotta buy another Arcade 1-Up cabinet for a lot of money and still get only 10 more games. So really, this thing comes loaded with the same amount of games as, you know, 2 Arcade 1-Ups. Now granted, not all these games are great, but I mean, it is what it is. All right, so I can't just gush on this thing forever. There's gotta be some cons, right? And everything has cons. Well, this one has more than one, right? There's several big cons. The first is very readily apparent. The Legends Pinball marquee lighting and the branding on top of the control panel. It's excessive. It really is. One or the other. They don't need both. And the fact that this is backlit, this is a well-known problem. And a lot of people, when they put these together, before they do, they'll throw a piece of cardboard or something across the back of Legends Pinball to stop the light, because the light does hit the glass. Especially, you notice a lot more in the darkened room. It might interfere a little bit with what you're seeing on the screen. So ridiculous that it's that big, brightly lit, and the branding is just everywhere. Legends Pinball, ATGames, Legend Pinball. We know what it is, right? It's right down here on the faux coin door too. So just overkill on that for sure. The menu system is pretty clunky. I mean, some people complain more than they need to, but it is. It's pretty clunky, and especially with the D-pad. But you know, it is what it is. It's functional, and I think there's an easy mode for it, and maybe some more firmware updates coming up. So not a big deal now when you only have, you know, 3 or 4 pages of tables, but you get 200 tables and all that. And I do believe there's a way to nest them when you get enough tables, but whatever the case may be, the baseline UI is just a little bit clunky, honestly. especially which is being able to use the D-pad. There's something else here that really annoys me with the base tables especially, but all the tables in particular. When you get a high score on the base tables, you have the ability to put your initials in, right? Okay, that makes sense, that works. Just a high score, that's fine. Then it uploads, I believe, automatically to the leaderboards. When you exit that game, like it will give you a confirmation that you uploaded to the leaderboard. Okay, so it's another button press. It slows you down, and it like takes 5 seconds to populate. So basically, you exit the game, and then after you get used to it, you start waiting for a few seconds for that message to pop up, and you click OK, and then you can back out. So there's a lot of little things like that that are annoying. And the baseline games do not remember your initials. Now, the Zaccaria packs I've noticed do remember your initials, and they remember a couple different things. They remember how you exited your last game, right? So rather than having to hit the menu button, move down, I think it's twice or 3 times with the cursor to quit game, and then hit enter and all that, when you hit the menu button on the Zaccaria tables, those are the purchasable ones, it goes automatically to quit game. So saves you several button presses there. Very nice, and I don't know why the base tables don't do that. I think it's a great option. Another thing too is the paid tables, Zaccaria tables, they actually remember your initials. So it just starts out, like for mine are always GEN. Mine starts with a G. When you hit enter, it defaults to E, and so on. So saves you all kinds of time in putting high scores. I know it's a tiny little thing, but it just, I don't know why the base tables don't do that. And I don't know if it's just the Zaccaria tables that do that or all the purchasable ones, but that's a great little bonus, right? What else? The haptics are a little weak. Like, I know there's no actual solenoids in there, and that'll be one of the upgrades I'll probably do here in the not too distant future, just to add some more oomph to it. But, you know, it is what it is. It's digital. You got to be careful with the rumblings, and we'll talk about that too, because the tilt on this thing is super sensitive. Like, I tried to use the nudge at all, and you can't turn on like the forced, I think it's forced haptic or whatever feedback, because it just tilts constantly on some games. Like I think the bass kicks in the music and it just acts like it's tilting. You gotta be so careful. And if you do too serious like tilts, you get a warning message and then it beeps at you and then it's just done. And then you lose your game basically. So the tilt here is way too sensitive. I don't like it, and I don't shake the table. I'm not a table shaker anyway, at least on this one. And I'm almost too afraid to even use the nudge buttons, right? So, but the tilt is just not great. So I'm not a big fan of that. Another issue, and it might have just been my unit that I have with this, is the glass, while clear, the back panel, the panel that's on the underside, seems to be kind of like, there's like something on there, like fingerprints and all kinds of things. So I'm gonna have to take this apart. I'm gonna be replacing this with the new control panel, by the way, with the joystick, eventually, which you also get a discount on with the purchase of the LPO, whatever club. So it already paid for itself then. But when I take that off, I'll go ahead and clean the glass. But yeah, I mean, it just seems kind of, there's this weird film, not in film, but like some oiliness, and looks like fingerprints really bad up here on the glass. So that part's not clean. I don't know how the front was clean and the back wasn't, but that part was kind of annoying. We've already talked about the branding and the marquees and all that, so we won't have to get back into there again. Some of the packs might be a little bit pricey. They pretty much all default at $25, or they have the really big combo packs for like, I think $50. So, you know, it seems like a good value on some of the $25 tables, but usually it's only about 4 tables, right? And there'll be a couple different themes on the same one. Like for instance, I got this Zaccaria Star God pack. I think it's number 4, and it comes with, I think, 9 games, but there's like I think 4 or 3 different versions of Star God alone. So right there, and they count each of those separately. So while the games are all different, it's not technically a different game. It's just a functionally different game. So there's that. There's a lot of repetition in some of the packs. So yeah, they got to make money on the things. I mean, that's where they make a lot more money probably than on the hardware itself. But there's that to consider too. And the last thing really is probably just this D-pad. It's not great. It's functional. It's perfectly functional. It's just not perfect, and you definitely can't. I couldn't imagine doing any video gaming with that, because I know you can play some like isometric shooters like Centipede and stuff, which will need the trackball, which we'll be getting at when I get the new panel. So the D-pad is not great for moving around the menus, but it works, you know, and that's the only time you really got to use it, is when you're moving around menus. So yeah, that's most of my cons that I really have for this thing. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the experience. virtual pinball. It's a way different, but I just love the space-saving value that this Legends pinball machine offers. And you know, I bought it with my own money. This wasn't sent to me or anything for any review, so it's 100% honest. It needs a few things to heighten the experience, but I mean, that's what modders do, right? And in order to keep the price point low, they don't add a lot of that stuff. So you can play this thing just fine without big solenoids in it. I mean, I do want to add them, but that's later down the road. You know, there's a few annoying little nitpicks, but for the my overall experience with this thing has been great. I think it's a great product, and I look forward to adding a lot more packs to it in the future, modding it out, and just making this thing a custom kind of machine. So yeah, thanks for watching. I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. But let me know, what say you? Do you have any experience with this pinball machine, or is virtual pinball something you might be interested in? If so, you might want to give this a look, and especially if it goes on sale in certain places, it might be worth a pickup, because I think this would be a great entertainment piece for just about any household. Almost everyone loves to play a game of pinball at some point, you know, even not non-pinball or pinball purists. Like, you'll have friends come over, and I guarantee they'll want to play this. So it's a great conversation piece. It's a great little like entertainment piece for the household, and really just the value is kind of off the charts. I mean, for what you're getting and the amount of nostalgia that it can foster. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more updates on the Basement Arcade here, and until next time, this is Genome. Just loving him some digital flippers.